If you've ever noticed that you feel most like yourself when no one else is around, when your energy actually increases in solitude rather than drains, there's a specific psychological reason for this that most people never understand about themselves. And it's not what you think. You're not antisocial, and you're not broken. You're someone who experiences what psychologists call solitude preference, where being alone doesn't just recharge you, it actually awakens parts of your personality that feel muted around others. Your thoughts become clearer, your creativity flows more freely, and you feel more connected to who you really are. It's like someone turned up the volume on your inner world while turning down the noise from everything else. If this already sounds familiar, subscribe and like. This channel helps you understand patterns most people never stop to question. Research suggests that approximately 25–30% of people have what's called a high sensitivity to social stimulation. This isn't introversion in the traditional sense. It's a neurological difference in how your brain processes social information. Studies have found that people with this trait show increased activity in areas associated with self-reflection and internal processing when alone, while showing heightened stress responses in complex social environments. Dr. Elaine Aron's research on highly sensitive people reveals that this isn't a personality flaw. It's a distinct neurological trait that affects how you process the world around you. The first thing that happens when you're alone is that your authentic self emerges without social filtering. Around others, you're constantly making micro-adjustments, moderating your voice, choosing words carefully, reading facial expressions, adjusting your posture based on social cues. This process, while natural, requires enormous mental energy. When you're alone, this mental bandwidth gets redirected toward genuine self-expression. Your thoughts become more honest, your interests more genuine, and you can explore ideas without worrying about how they'll be received. Think about the last time you were completely alone for several hours. Did you notice how your internal monologue changed? How your body language relaxed? How thoughts you'd never voice in public suddenly felt safe to explore? This isn't just relaxation, it's psychological authenticity in action. Do you notice how your internal monologue changes when you're by yourself? Your brain experiences what psychologists call cognitive restoration in solitude. Social interactions, even positive ones, require constant decision-making about how to respond, when to speak, how to position your body, what facial expression to wear. This creates what researchers term social cognitive load, a continuous background process that consumes mental resources you might not even realize you're using. When you're alone, this load disappears entirely, and your mind can process information more deeply and creatively. It's like switching from a computer, running 20 programs simultaneously, to one focused on a single, complex task. Your processing power increases dramatically. This is why many people report their best problem-solving happens in solitude. Your brain literally has more resources available for deep thinking. Behavioral science shows that this cognitive restoration can happen within just 15 to 20 minutes of uninterrupted solitude, but the effects compound the longer you remain in this state. You likely have a sophisticated internal emotional regulation system that works best without external input. Instead of needing others to help you process feelings, you actually process them more effectively in solitude. Your emotional intelligence turns inward, and you can untangle complex feelings without the added layer of managing how others perceive your emotional state. This doesn't mean you're emotionally distant or unavailable, quite the opposite. When you process emotions alone first, you often return to social situations with greater emotional clarity and stability. You're not using others as emotional processing tools. You're doing that work internally and then sharing the insights. Many people with this trait describe feeling emotionally cluttered after intense social interactions, not because the interactions were negative, but because they absorbed emotional information that needs time to be properly sorted and understood. If this resonates, type, "This sounds like me" in the comments. Here's something most people don't know. Individuals who feel more alive alone often have what's called sensory processing sensitivity. Your nervous system picks up on subtleties that others miss. The energy in a room, micro-expressions, even the emotional undertones in conversations. You notice when someone's smile doesn't reach their eyes, when there's tension beneath polite conversation, when the mood shifts in a group setting. This heightened awareness can be overwhelming in groups, but becomes a psychological advantage when you're alone. Without the constant input of social stimuli, you can actually appreciate and process the more subtle sensory information around you. The quality of light, the texture of silence, the way your own thoughts feel when they're not competing with external voices. Research indicates that people with sensory processing sensitivity have more active mirror neurons, which means they're literally experiencing echoes of others' emotions and physical states. In solitude, these mirror neurons can finally rest, allowing you to reconnect with your own authentic emotional and physical experience. Your creativity likely peaks in solitude because you can access what psychologists call divergent thinking without social pressure to conform to conventional ideas. Many people describe their best ideas coming during quiet moments alone, in the shower, on walks, or just sitting in silence. This isn't coincidence. It's your brain's natural creative process functioning without social interference. When you're around others, even supportive others, part of your brain is constantly evaluating whether your ideas will be understood, accepted, or judged. This evaluation process, while sometimes useful, can severely limit creative exploration. In solitude, you can follow thoughts to their logical extremes, make unusual connections, and explore ideas that might seem strange or impractical to others. Studies have found that people who regularly engage in solitary creative activities show increased activity in the default mode network of the brain, the same network associated with self-referential thinking and personal meaning-making. This suggests that solitary creativity isn't just about making things, it's about understanding yourself and your place in the world. When you're alone, you can integrate different aspects of your personality without worrying about consistency or social expectations. You might be intellectual one moment, playful the next, contemplative after that. This psychological flexibility is actually a sign of healthy identity development, but it requires the safety of solitude to fully express itself. In social situations, you often emphasize certain aspects of your personality while downplaying others, depending on the context and the people present. This isn't being fake, it's normal social adaptation. But when you're alone, you can be the full spectrum of who you are without editing or filtering. You can be serious and silly, logical and intuitive, confident and vulnerable, sometimes within the same hour. This integration process is crucial for psychological health. When you spend regular time alone, you're essentially having a relationship with yourself, getting to know all the different facets of your personality and learning how they work together. People who feel more alive alone often have a stronger, more integrated sense of self because they've spent time with themselves in this unfiltered way. If you've noticed this pattern in yourself, comment. This explains a lot. None of this is random. It's a consistent psychological pattern that makes perfect sense when you understand the underlying mechanisms. Your need for solitude isn't about avoiding people. It's about accessing the full spectrum of who you are. Your brain is wired to process information, emotions, and creativity most effectively when it's not simultaneously managing social dynamics. This is why you feel more alive alone, because you literally are more yourself. You're not performing, adapting, or filtering. You're experiencing what psychologists call authentic being, the state where your internal experience matches your external expression perfectly because there's no external pressure to be anything other than exactly who you are in that moment. Understanding this pattern can be transformative. It means your solitude isn't selfish or antisocial. It's necessary for your psychological well-being. It's how you maintain your sense of self in a world that constantly asks you to adapt and adjust to others' needs and expectations. Understanding this about yourself isn't just interesting, it's liberating. You're not antisocial or difficult. You're someone whose psychological architecture functions optimally in solitude. This knowledge can help you make better decisions about how you structure your life, how you communicate your needs to others, and how you think about your own social patterns. You don't need to apologize for needing time alone, and you don't need to force yourself into social situations that drain rather than energize you. Your solitude preference is a legitimate psychological trait that deserves respect, from others and from yourself. The next time someone asks why you enjoy being alone so much, you can explain that it's not about avoiding connection. It's about connecting with yourself in a way that makes all your other connections more authentic and meaningful. If this helped you understand yourself more clearly, subscribe, like, and share. It helps others make sense of their own patterns too. And if you want to explore more about psychological patterns that most people never question, check out the video I'm linking in the description about why some people think better in chaos while others need complete silence.